The worst part about heartbreak isn't when it hits you, it's when you pretend it doesn't. I learned that the hard way the night Ethan Carmichael, my so-called colleague, looked at me with that reckless grin and casually announced to a room full of people, "Yeah, he's my boyfriend," and the thing ISI didn't even know I was. It should have been funny, a ridiculous misunderstanding that everyone laughed off. But no one laughed. Not when his arm slid around my shoulder like it belonged there. Not when his voice dropped just enough to sound like the truth. Not when my pulse went crazy because damn it somehow it did feel like the truth. I met Ethan 6 months ago at the Manhattan office where I work as a corporate lawyer. If I had to describe him in one word, it would be effortless. The kind of guy who walked into a room and didn't have to say a word to draw every pair of eyes. Confident, charming, magnetic, basically the opposite of me. I was the quiet one, the guy who buried himself in contracts, deadlines, and late-night takeout. People like Ethan didn't usually notice people like me. But Ethan noticed. Started small. A coffee left on my desk without a word. A seat saved in the conference room. A ride home after I stayed too late at the office. I thought it was kindness, the kind you show to a colleague you don't want to see burn out. I told myself that every time my chest did that stupid thing, tightening, racing, hoping, until tonight. We were at a friend's loft in Brooklyn. A casual Friday night gathering with coworkers. Nothing fancy. Just beer, pizza, and the kind of loud laughter that makes you forget you're exhausted. I was in the corner, nursing my second drink, trying not to look like I didn't belong. Ethan, of course, was in the center of it, all animated, magnetic, telling some story about the time he accidentally crashed a wedding. And then someone, Sophie, I think, asked, "So, Ethan, when are you finally going to settle down? Don't tell me you've got some secret lover you're hiding." I don't remember breathing in that second. I was too busy watching Ethan's gaze sweep the room, land on me, and stay there. His smile shifted, subtle, private, and before I could blink, he said, "What do you mean hiding? He's right here." The room went silent. Every head turned. Every eye pinned me to the spot. My glass froze halfway to my lips. I wanted to laugh, to roll my eyes and brush it off. But then Ethan's arm was there, warm, heavy, real, around my shoulders. And his thumb brushed lightly, just once, against my collarbone like he knew exactly what he was doing. I couldn't speak. Instead, I sat there, trapped between the weight of his arm and the fire of everyone's stares. While my world tilted so violently I swore I'd fall off my chair. Was it a joke? A dare? A line he'd throw away tomorrow with that same careless grin? Or was it something else, something I had been too afraid to admit I wanted all along? The laughter returned first, awkward and scattered, filling the silence that had pressed too hard against my ribs. Sophie giggled, too high-pitched, muttering something about finally. Someone else whistled, and just like that, the party moved on. But I didn't. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe properly with Ethan's arms still around me like we'd been together for years. He didn't let go. Not even when he leaned down, his lips brushing just close enough to my ear to make my skin burn, and whispered, "Relax. You'll thank me later." Thank him? I wanted to shove him away. I wanted to demand an explanation. Most of all, I wanted to understand why my heart wasn't screaming no. Why it was pounding out a desperate yes instead. Ethan didn't look at me again. He kept laughing with the others, sipping his beer, telling stories. But his arm never moved. It stayed there, claiming me silently, like a promise or a warning. And that was when I realized something terrifying. Maybe Ethan wasn't joking. The night dragged on, every sound muffled under the rush of my thoughts. By the time people began saying their goodbyes, I was still in that same spot, still pretending to smile when someone joked about workplace romances, still pretending I wasn't coming undone. When the door finally closed behind the last guest, it was just us. The quiet was worse than the noise. I stood too fast, shoving my hands into my pockets. What the hell was that? Ethan raised a brow, lounging against the counter like he owned the place. What was what? Don't play dumb. That little stunt. My voice cracked, and I hated how raw it sounded. You can't just call me your boyfriend in front of everyone like it's true. His smile was slow, infuriating. Why not? Didn't you like the sound of it? I froze. Because the truth was I'd liked it too much. I swallowed hard, forcing the words out. This isn't funny, Ethan. People are going to talk. They're going to think the truth. The way he said it, calm, steady, like it wasn't even a question, knocked the air from my lungs. The truth, I echoed, my voice breaking on the word. And for the first time that night, Ethan's eyes softened. No smirk, no teasing, just something quiet and devastating. Yeah, he said, the truth. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell him he was wrong, that we were nothing, that this was a cruel joke gone too far. But the words wouldn't come. Not when my chest felt like it might split open. Not when a part of me, some reckless, buried part, was begging to believe him. So instead, I stood there in silence, staring at him, while the world I thought I knew collapsed around me. And Ethan just watched, patient and unshaken, like he'd been waiting for this moment all along. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake in my apartment, staring at the ceiling, replaying every second of Ethan's words, his arm around me, the way he said the truth like it was the simplest thing in the world. The next morning at the office, whispers followed me like shadows. I caught Sophie's knowing smile, the raised brows from Mark in accounting, the half-hidden chuckles. It wasn't cruel, not really, just curious. But it felt suffocating all the same. I avoided Ethan, or at least I tried. But avoidance doesn't work when the man you're avoiding is the one who insists on eating lunch at your desk, who drops files on your chair just so he has an excuse to linger, who looks at you like you're the only person in a crowded room. 3 days passed before I snapped. Why, Ethan? I demanded, cornering him in the hallway after a meeting. Why would you do that? Why say something like that in front of everyone? His expression didn't waver. Because it's true. My chest tightened. It's not. You never asked me. You can't just decide for me. I didn't decide anything for you, he said evenly. I just said what I feel. What I've been feeling for months. The ground shifted under me again. And you thought humiliating me in front of everyone was the right way to handle it? For the first time, something flickered across his face, pain. Maybe even regret. I didn't mean to humiliate you. I thought, maybe it was time people knew. That you knew. You should have asked me. My voice broke. You don't get to play games with my life. I'm not playing games. His voice was low now, almost pleading. I've never been more serious. But I couldn't hear it. Not then. I walked away, leaving him standing in the empty hallway with words he never got to finish. The days that followed were torture. Work became unbearable. Every time Ethan looked at me, I felt torn apart, half of me wanting to run, the other half aching to stay. Nights were worse. I'd lie in bed, replaying every detail. The way his arm felt heavy but safe around me. The steadiness in his voice when he called me his lover. The softness in his eyes when he said the truth. And I hated myself for wanting it. It all came to a breaking point a week later when Sophie invited me to another gathering. I almost didn't go, but something inside my curiosity, maybe, or stubbornness pushed me there. Ethan was already there when I arrived, standing by the window with a drink in his hand. He saw me the moment I walked in. For once, he didn't smile. We stayed apart most of the night. He didn't corner me, didn't touch me, didn't push. It should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like loss. Then, just as I was about to leave, I heard Sophie ask Ethan, "So, still with him?" And Ethan, without hesitation, said quietly, "No. He doesn't want me." Something in me shattered. Before I knew it, I was pulling him outside, into the cold night air. "Why would you say that?" I demanded, breathless. He looked at me, eyes tired but honest. "Because it's true. You don't want this. You don't want me. And I won't force you." My throat closed. "You idiot," I whispered. "That's not true." He froze. "What?" I swallowed hard, every wall I'd built crumbling. "I never said I didn't want you. I said you can't just decide for me." I was scared, Ethan. I still am. But that doesn't mean I don't, my voice cracked. I don't want this. Don't want you. Silence. Then, slowly, carefully, Ethan stepped closer. Then say it. Say you want me. I met his eyes, my heart hammering so hard it hurt. And for the first time, I let myself fall. I want you. His hand cupped my cheek, tentative at first, like he didn't believe it was real. When I didn't pull away, his lips were on mine, soft, desperate, filled with every word we hadn't said. The world tilted again, but this time it wasn't terrifying. It was perfect. When we finally broke apart, I was breathless. He was smiling, that same reckless grin that had ruined me the first night, but now it felt different. Warmer. So, he murmured, forehead resting against mine. Can I call you my lover now? I laughed, shaky but real. You already did, in front of half the office. Guess I'll just have to make it official, he teased, kissing me again. And in that moment, under the New York night sky, with his arms around me and every fear dissolving into something brighter, I realized something simple and undeniable. The truth wasn't terrifying. The truth was love, and I was finally ready to live it. That was the night everything changed. The whispers at work didn't matter anymore. The stares, the jokes, the questions, none of it mattered. Because every time Ethan looked at me across the office, every time his hand brushed mine under the table, every time he smiled that smile just for me knew, I thought he was just a kind colleague. But he was so much more. He was mine, and I was his, forever. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.